blockchain because everybody talks about it, so I want to get a real expert in here to tell us exactly what it is. And then we're going to talk about it for another, I think, 75 minutes after that. So if you don't know enough about blockchain yet, this is definitely the time to learn about it because it's going to be part of all of our lives, whether we like it or not. It may not even already be part of it. Without further ado, here is Kirrill. Take it away, Kirrill.
Of course. Thank you. It's great to be here. Such a lovely event. And such an honor to be the first speaker after the lunch. So please sit back and relax. That's going to be a technical deep dive to what is really blockchain. So I work for DataArt, and DataArt does custom software development and technology consulting. And we've been doing blockchain development for 3 years. So while in the healthcare industry, this is still a trend, in other domains like finance area, this is a real thing. So we completed a bunch of applications. For example, we created an e-proxy voting application for one of financial institutions in Europe that works on a national level. We created the welfare payment solution that has integration with plastic, with banks, etc., etc. And the first, I heard about blockchain 6 years ago. I was speaking at a large European conference and was like, this will never fly out. So here I am 3 years later. I work on a blockchain project, and I advance it from adopted person to passionate about this technology. I believe that this is foundational. This will have a broader impact, but it will require a larger adoption. Blockchain, please, it is not a revolution. So if you read an article that blockchain will revolutionize this market, that's not true. Revolution usually happens in 1 day. Blockchain adoption will take longer. But to get to the perfect world, we have to start now, and I will explain why we need to do this. So, what is blockchain? Probably you know that this is an immutable ledger, but I'm going to put this a little different. So blockchain, this is a new digital asset class. Just think about this. How confusing, right? This is exactly why I put Dilbert. So this is a digital asset class that enables distributed applications. It has nothing to do with cryptocurrency. It has nothing to do with real money. It creates a new market. It creates a new form of development, a new form of applications that will have a huge impact in our lives in few years. It doesn't mean that it is better or it is worse than traditional systems. I'm not saying this. That's not my point. What I'm saying it is just different. And there are some use cases when blockchain is going to shine so bright that it makes like no-brainer to use that technology in that specific area. I'm from Eastern Europe, and it turned out that I have a special mindset that in the first place sees challenges. In a good meaning, of course. Challenges can be overcome. So for example, last week I went to one pharmacy to get a free flu shot. So turned out that my insurance doesn't cover that specific pharmacy. So all right, here I am, 15 minutes later, after a little bit of research and Googling, I found another pharmacy that's 2 blocks away from that one. So I'm in the wait line now, speaking to the guy, and he's saying that that's going to cost you 26 bucks. Why is that? That pharmacy should have been in my insurance plan. So I thought that this is a sign and decided not to take a flu shot. A couple of hours later, I get a call back from that guy, and he's saying, hey, look, we made a mistake. In fact, you are in the plan. That's going to be covered. So while it's kind of efficient, they finally got that data from different providers. It's not really interoperable. Not sure if it's a real word. So this is my ideal world. This is the beauty of that ecosystem that we can get into. If all providers, all healthcare plans, and patients can be in the same network and can transact peer-to-peer, that's going to be a completely different picture. That's going to be a completely different equation that can settle transactions faster and can get data from providers not just in a matter of hours, but in a fractions of seconds. But to do this, to get to that type of system, we need to take a step back. And why do we have so many providers with different flavors of API? My personal feeling is because we live in the internet of the information. And that works great. I mean, I can send you an email, I can send you a file, I can send you my EHR. But the problem is when, well, not really a problem. The thing is, when I send you that file, those digital files, I'm sending you a copy. I'm not sending you the original. And to a certain extent, that works really well. Like, we have so many providers, we have different APIs, we can retrieve data from them. But when it comes down to money or assets or other financial securities, it's not that great. Because when I send you a single or 100 or 100,000, it is important that at the end of the transaction, I don't still own that money. And in physical world, that problem does not exist. When I give you a single, I don't own it anymore. In the digital world, it's completely different. When we have two organizations, like two providers, two banks, whatever, they have to transact in atomic way. I'll give you an example. When I send money from my bank account to another bank account, those banks have to, the first bank have to subtract that amount in their database, and the second bank must add that absolutely the same amount to their database. So if something goes wrong in the middle, we'll have to roll back the entire transaction. And certainly this is going to take time. So how to do this? One of the ways we can rely on big intermediaries, banks, credit companies, hospitals, and other providers to transact peer-to-peer. And I mean, this is the one way how to do this. This is the way how it is implemented now. But there are limitations of such intermediaries. Processes are slow. Well, not that fast. Financial transactions, healthcare transactions may take days to settle. Privacy is being undermined. And my favorite example so far, this is Equifax hack that happened recently. Millions of records, personal records, have been compromised. So what if there were a network, a truly distributed network, across millions of participants, millions of nodes, that in a way that these nodes can transact with each other peer-to-peer, that's going to be a solution. That's going to take way much less time to settle transaction, to retrieve data from different providers. And that network, we can create that network with technology, which is called blockchain. I'm pretty sure you know the basics of the blockchain, what it is, and how to use this. So just a quick recap. Blockchain, this is an immutable ledger. That means you write once, and you can only read from that ledger after that. You cannot reverse transaction. You cannot cancel this. You cannot replace or delete it. That ledger is replicated across all the participants in the network. That means there is no such thing as communications between different providers or different APIs. Every single participant in the network owns absolutely the same data sets and can work, calculate, and transact with it individually. And it is decentralized, meaning there is no centralized authority or controlling authority. So that's going to be resistant to many changes. To give you a little bit technical flavor, how blockchain works inside. So let's say we have doctor and hospitals, and doctor provided a service, a physical service. So now he's submitting a claim to the blockchain, cryptographically signs that transaction, and that transaction is going to be broadcasted to all participants, to all nodes automatically. That means after step two, that transaction cannot be stopped. And settlement happens within minutes. As soon as data gets to all nodes and other participants on the blockchain, it is going to be settled, whether it is money movements, HR movements, or something else. This is not something new in healthcare world. There are already movements. The movement has been started already. One of my favorite examples, it is Estonian project. And they created a solution from ground up. They created digital personas. They created digital identities. And now lots of patients can log in to a digital login to their portal to get digital copy of their EHRs. So this is my perfect world. Of course, there are standards. There are already standards how to reach interoperable networks, like FHIR and others. So we're not creating something new. We are creating another layer of communications that's going to make it efficient and effective at the same time. This is the most technical slide that you have in my presentation. Blockchain this is a new technology, and there are so many different flavors that you can use. For example, there is a huge difference between private networks that create a consortia. There are public networks like Ethereum that everyone can participate in. There are fat blockchains that can run smart contracts to automate the process. There are thin blockchains that's being used only for record keeping or for audit purposes. So depending on use case, there are different technology solutions that we can use. It doesn't mean that blockchain is limited to only two. There is no such thing as the blockchain. There is a blockchain, and it is not Bitcoin, Ethereum. There are lots of different implementations. So, how to do this? As I said, in finance world, blockchain, this is not a trend. This is a real thing. There are projects running under production. There are enterprise-grade companies that work with blockchain technologies, even right now. So if in healthcare this is still a trend, we have to start now, and we need to start small. Private blockchains most likely is going to be the best fit for a consortium or federation, like Hyperledger or Ethereum Enterprise Alliance. But it must be done now. So that's pretty much it. Thank you, folks.
Okay, thank you, Kirill. That was great.